saying good job. All right, we're going to jump right back into it. Let's go. Duane, I'm going to go ahead and give you control, sir.
All right.
And take over, man. It's all yours, buddy. Been waiting for this one.
I better not disappoint.
Yeah, because people loving the Matt one, man. You gotta step up your game here.
Well, Mark, thanks very much for including me in this. It's an honor to do it, and I've been really impressed with the level of presentations here. Matt was, had a really great way to look at stuff. I love the way Coach Doc coaches, and then Coach Bacon. So the technique things are perfect. I come from a background. I am the scout at Bishop Chatard High School, but I'm a public school kid. I went to public high school. I went to public college, and sent my kids through the Catholic programs, and that's how I got hooked up coaching. I come from an era where I started playing high school football at the freshman level when I was in 7th grade. Grew up in a really small town in Illinois, got to practice with the freshmen. And if you can imagine the kind of kid I was, the coaches spent, like 5 minutes explaining how to make a perfect tackle. And they threw me into the first drill. So I tackled some kid around the neck and, and throw him down. And it's like, what? It's like, so I was just horrible to coach. The point I want to make here, though, is that you guys that have spoken here are so dynamic that your kids are going to be, they don't want to disappoint you. So what they're likely to do is to make sure they don't disappoint you, they may take a shortcut so that I've got to get on the power, I got to get across quickly. If I'm a guard or a tackle, I'm going to pull across. I need to do that quickly. I may take a shortcut because I don't want to disappoint the coach. And as a scout, those are the things that I'm looking for. We're in 3A, which is the middle classification in Indiana. Bishop Chatard happens to be the all-time leader in state championships. I've been with them 4 years, and we've won the last 2 back-to-back. We were able to play the season in 2020 and get it complete through the state finals, which was a remarkable accomplishment. And tying back to what Matt was saying in his presentation, the way that we looked at this is football was a sanctuary, that it was a place for the kids to go where they were isolated from all the nutty stuff that was going on around them, in the community, in social media, whatever, that they got to be in their sanctuary when they played football. And they got to stay if they did, they masked up when they needed to, they, did all that stuff. And that was one of the ways that we got through the season. So I want to talk about how we do it, how I do it in terms of scouting, what I'm looking for. I do in-person scouting, which is pretty unusual anymore. In college, you really can't do it anymore. It's against the rules. And I'm one of the few in our state that actually does it. And number 2 is there's a bunch of guys that are on staff that analyze all the film. They break it down like you guys are showing for, the 7-on-7 work and the opponent's cut-ups and all that stuff. So all I have to do is focus on the in-person side. And what am I looking for when I go scouting? I'm looking for anomalies. I'm looking for something that looks weird or something odd that happens. I base my whole approach on the Notre Dame model. And the guy who set it up, his name is Bill Reese. He was previously a scout for the Chicago Bears and the Kansas City Chiefs. And he's a really nice guy. And there are articles on the web that'll show you how to do it. But he writes up an analysis of every player that he sees. It's every starter on offense and defense, punter, kicker, and long snapper. And then what we do, or what I've stolen from him in his system, he color codes the players. So what we're looking for are mismatches. So you color code them. Blue would be, at high school, it would be like, oh, this kid could go play at Notre Dame, or this kid could go play at USC or Boise State. That would be a blue. And a red would be just maybe a step or half step below. Purple is a level of player that you can win with. You know, you're assuming that you're a great coach. So if you've got a bunch of purple guys, you can win. Then what I'm looking for, okay, who's the red, who's the blues? And then the level below purple is orange. These are where the mismatches are. And then there's a level below, which is black. And the black level of performance is, why is this guy on the field? Okay. Or he may be so young that he's being forced to play, and he's having to play and he's way over his head. So we write these up and as part of the scouting report that gets prepared. Basically, scouting beyond the film analysis it's not X's and O's. You guys know X's and O's way better than I. You know, it's like when I started playing football, we blocked like this, you know, and I had to learn how to use my hands. So it's true. It's about the Jimmies and the Joes. And it's my job to identify the Jimmies and the Joes. And in this COVID year, what changed is that, and this is me, you know, the back shot, my wife thought it was really funny to take this picture. What we found was that you may be restricted from sending a scout to an away game. The secret, though, is looking on Facebook and looking on YouTube for your opponent's games. And you want to take a look at those because you get almost the same viewpoint as you would sending a scout to an away game. And in fact, like my Notre Dame model, Bill just sits in his office and they analyze obviously the tape, or the video, but they're looking at the TV tapes to get a different perspective. And what happens is, if you're live or if you're using YouTube or Facebook, what you find there is a couple of you in making presentations, you're no huddle, okay? But if you're looking just at huddle, for instance, at the huddle tapes, you have no idea or very little idea what the cadence is, and you really don't have an idea if the tapes are cut when you're getting them, if they're running tempo or not. But you can get that indication off the YouTube or off Facebook video. So that's the thing I'm looking at. What pace are you playing? What's your cadence? I can catch that, and then what's the tempo? In the last 2 years, I don't think we've had an offsides based on the cadence that was called by the offense. I think we lined up offsides maybe once or twice. DNs, get a little sloppy, but it's easier to prepare when you got a heads up on that. Next, I mentioned mismatches. I'm looking for mismatches for and against me. So if the other coach is as good as I think he is, he's going to be able to identify those mismatches that work for him in his favor. And it comes into your game planning. What are you going to do to manage those mismatches? And then apart that mismatch, I'm looking at players and I'm making an instantaneous decision is, can he play? I don't care as a scout. I don't care if this kid is a D1 recruit and he's going to the University of Louisville. Don't care. I mean, he's 6'5" and 295, and he's playing offensive tackle. Louisville can coach him. They can make him either gain weight or lose a little, or they can move him a different position. All I'm looking at is, can he play? And one of the things that Coach Bacon pointed out is, the linemen are getting bigger and bigger. The offensive linemen are. And I'm telling you, one of my observations over the last 5 or 10 years is the bigger the tackles are, the harder they're having against a good high school defensive end. They're getting under those blocks. If your tackles aren't getting their hands on the defensive ends or whoever the outside rusher is, I mean, it's a boat race to the quarterback. So that's just, I've seen a number of very large tackles that are really struggling. And that was one of the things I was noticing when Coach Doc was making his presentation. I was watching, and he had a right tackle, number 75, was really good. I mean, I like that kid. I mean, I would have scored him probably a red. And I'm cheating because I know he ended up at he's at a really good D2 school, but I mean he gave me nothing as a scout. Okay, gave me nothing. He gave me the same look, run or pass, same technique. Gives me nothing. But again, I'll talk about what are some of the tips that you're looking for. If somebody gets hurt, that's not going to be on the video. That's something you'll see on YouTube, or you won't see in Huddle, but you'll see it on YouTube or Facebook, or somebody in person will see it. Tipping the play is it a run or pass? And to me, at the high school level, that is like stealing. If I'm seeing run or if I'm going to get run or pass. Now I know somebody will go, well, it's all about down or distance. Okay, yeah, I get it. If it's 3rd and 30, or let's make it 3rd and 12, more than likely it'll be a pass. But still, you shouldn't make it that easy for me to see that. So I'll show you a couple of pictures of taking a look. Defensive line. I had to laugh at what Coach Bacon was saying about defensive linemen. In the last 2 years, I think I've seen one stunt, and I don't count slant right or slant left as a stunt. It's, are you doing anything, with the nose guard and in combo with another player, or if you're playing a 4, are you doing any tackle end stunts? The one I saw, I think, was just an accident. He might have gotten blocked into the wrong place because I don't think he knew where he was. I just don't see stunts very often, and that may be something that you want to toss in there every now and then, because if the offensive linemen aren't seeing it, they're not going to be prepared to block it. Maybe you guys are way more advanced on the coast than we're here in the Midwest, but that's something to take a look at. The defensive line is pretty vanilla with their techniques. I'm looking at your mentality as a team, and this kind of ties with the previous presentation was getting at. Is this defense an attacking kind of defense? Is that the kind of mentality they have, or is it we're going to kind of lay back and do the bend or break? How soft are our defensive backs? That's the kind of feedback that our coaching staff likes to see. I like to get to the game early or watch the YouTube or Facebook video from the very beginning, and I like to see the field goal kickers, and I like to see them warm up and get an idea of not only what their range is, but what hash mark are they having success or failure at. And so does it have an effect on your overall defense? Maybe, but you're gonna know they got to get it down to the 20. They got to get down to the 20-yard line before they're going to even hit one. So I think that's good to know too. From a coaching perspective, what I'm looking at is your game management, and it's really how organized or disorganized are you on the sideline, and then your management of timeouts. Do you use them? Where do you use them? When do you use them? That kind of thing. I'm looking for explosive plays. In college and pro, they define an explosive play as more than 10 yards. And in high school, at least where I am, that happens all the time. And I'd be writing forever. So I'm looking at 20 yards, 20 plus as an explosive play. So I give down, distance, and time that explosive play happens. Just so when the coaching staff is reviewing the huddle video from the opponent, it saves them some time that they can look at those separately, and they can advance the film and take a look at that particular quarter and the particular play and what made it explosive. And then again, back to the Jimmies and Joes, I'm looking at, all right, who's the best player on the field? And then who's the worst player on the field? And in high school, at our level, you're going to get probably one or two outstanding. You're going to get 7 that are good, decent to average, and so 7 and 2 is 9. So there's going to be 2 others that are just awful. And it's my job to identify who are those really and truly awful players so that we can take advantage of them in matchup or move personnel to where we can take advantage of that. And then who's the guy? Who's the one guy? It's a Bill Belichick approach. Who's the one guy or the one phase of the offense that we have to stop? And generally, again, at our level, it's not so much the offense, it's which player is it. And if it's a running back, we can adjust our blitzes to take him out at the line of scrimmage, or if it's a quarterback, we can move our defensive ends and make sure he stays in the pocket and doesn't roll out, that kind of stuff. So that's what I'm looking for as a scout when I'm looking at video or in person. And again, how do I do it? Mostly live if I can. I started live this season and then ended up most of it was on video. And the other thing is, if you're sending people out or if you're doing your scout preparation, look at video before you go to the game, or look at the YouTube or Facebook video before you start putting your scouting report together. Before you start looking at the huddle video that you're getting from your opponents. You really want to get that picture. And I'm going to show you a couple things here that I found interesting, and why am I beating the drum on Facebook and YouTube? This is a screenshot of a This was the scout for the semi-state game before this year's finals. And if you can see my cursor here, they went with this was the opponent in white is who we ended up playing. Now, the video that they sent our scouting staff was from the side on huddle. They didn't send them an end zone look. And this is a look that I took off of huddle because the coaches read my report. And basically I said, hey, look, they're sneaking an extra offensive lineman in here in a heavy package. And they couldn't see it from the side view that they got. So I sent them this exact screenshot. So you've got, this is an offensive lineman 3. This is a little fat freshman they snuck in there as the extra 4, 5, and 6. And that was their heavy package. And then what they would do occasionally in this heavy package would scoot one of these over here and go unbalanced with it. But would our team been able to defend it? Sure. But you would have had to react to it. But what we picked up was number 58 right here, this guy right here. When he came in, he wasn't a sub, he was an extra. And it allowed us, then the question was, well, do we have enough time that we can counter that heavy package? And most of the time, if they went unbalanced, you just move down one gap and adjust that way. But yeah, you had plenty of time. These guys always went to a huddle. You could see the guy come in. You had plenty of time to make that substitution and get in. That's why you want to take a look at YouTube or Facebook. YouTube and Facebook stinks for looking at coverages. Coverages you're going to get from Huddle or whatever film exchange you're using. But Facebook and YouTube are great for scouting your offensive line, your defensive line, and linebackers. Because this almost always is a default setting that schools are using, the angle that they're using to record these games. And it's a lot like the angle I take when I go scout live. So this is the kind of stuff that if you don't take anything away from what I have to say today, it's only one thing, this is it, is look at the TV version. If you guys have TV broadcasts of your high school games, and if not, then go to YouTube and Facebook.
Hey, Coach.
Yes, sir.
It was funny. Coach Doc was like, "Can't fool you, Duane." But Coach Costa, are you muted, Coach? Okay, I'll unmute you. Coach Costa was asking, how do you find the films on Facebook? I found them on YouTube. Let me find you, Matt.
Basically, what I do is run a search on Facebook, and just see. I'll search by high school, obviously, so it would be like I'm looking for Concordia 2020, and if it's it'll be either on Facebook or it'll be on YouTube. There will be something that you can look at, especially if the high schools have a broadcast program, then they're for sure going to do it. Now, I'm going to tell you, after listening to high schoolers broadcast games, you're going to kill the sound. It's like, this is awful.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to make everybody's experience better, coaches, do a seminar on how to watch football for your broadcast program. It's uniformly awful if students are doing it. Anyway, all right. That's the old man, get off my lawn thing. The other thing I'm looking for in this is tipping. And again, this goes to how good you guys are as coaches. Is they're taking shortcuts because they don't want to disappoint you. The picture at the top is our opponent in a regular season game. This was our finals opponent, or our semi-state opponent, I think. And top, it was a running play. And if this guy right here, you can see, and this guy's a little bit harder, but their fingers are in the turf. It is a running play. But look over here. My right tackle is cheating because this guy's really quick. He's cheating, and he's taking a really light set. Pass, pass, and he's not the only one. This dude over here, the left guard, he's doing exactly the same thing. Light set, fingers barely in the turf. Pass. Now, would you have time to change your defensive call? Heck no, probably not. But by gosh, we make sure that our defensive linemen know that they can read the hands of the O-line and take advantage of it every time. So in terms of O-line, what I'm looking for are, can you give me a run versus pass look that I can read? And it's generally speaking, I can read it from the stands or I can read it from video. It's at that angle. So it's like from the 40-yard line at an angle is what you're looking for on the video. The other thing I'm reading from offensive linemen, and you want to watch, is you're running a lot of the inside or outside zones, and if you're pulling your offensive linemen across, lots of times, I would say maybe 4 out of 10 times in games that I see, the offensive linemen that are pulling across on the inside or outside zone plays are cheating back, so that they don't run into, like if the center gets knocked back, they're not bumping into the center. So they're taking maybe a 3-inch or 6-inch drop in their stances so that they can get a clearer line to that pull. Now, that was one thing that your Coach Doc's guys did not do. And I was watching, and the only anomaly I ever saw, and you explained it, was from the video a year ago, your right tackle used a 3-point stance, and that was your heavy package near the goal line. Every other time, everybody was using the 2-point. This is another, get off my lawn opinion, but I tell you, as a scout, what I pick up is enough that I would really think strongly about going with a 2-point stance the whole time. Maybe if you're going to do the goal line stuff, because you're going to slam it in there anyway. It's about power and getting it in there. But obviously, if the 2-point stance, it's easier, get everybody straight. It's harder for them to cheat, or if they do cheat, you can see it and correct it. You're not given that run, pass, read. So that's kind of what the biggies on offensive line are. Next, I'm looking at the defensive line. Okay, Coach Bacon was saying how dumb they are. Now, I don't know if I go exactly that far, but then I thought, well, probably he's right. Number one, and it's not here, but you're looking at your defensive linemen. They've developed a go-to move. It's like in this team here in the red, they had a guy, their best defensive lineman was always using a swim move. It was swim move, swim move, swim move. Couldn't believe it. It's like every play he was doing it. And it's like, man, next time he raises that arm and do the swim move, you hit him in the ribs, and he'll stop. So are they using the same move over and over? Number two, look at your stances of your defensive linemen. Are they doing something different if you got a blitz call? So, because sometimes they will change which foot they've got forward. depending on where that blitzing linebacker is coming from. And that's one I stole from Notre Dame. That's one of their key analysis points. Are the defensive linemen really sloppy? So do they have a huge stagger in their stance? It gives you an opportunity to take advantage of that. And they got a huge stagger. They're on an all-out sprint, and you can trap them. You can do all kinds of stuff with somebody like that. And then lastly, what I like to look at is, does the nose guard or the defensive tackle, are they making any plays after the second quarter? And this is kind of my indicator, is how good a shape are the interior defensive linemen? And, my guess is you guys are larger programs that you probably don't have linemen playing both ways. Now, at our school, we had 2 platoon, but sometimes you'll run into teams that we had where the interior linemen were going both ways. And great thing about that was the longer the game went, the easier it was to run the ball, because the nose tackle and D tackles weren't making any plays at all. So that's a key point that I would look at in terms of your scouting. Your DBs. What I'm looking at is, how quickly can they get depth? How quickly do they break to the ball? And then lastly, in Indiana, defensive backs are the worst coach position on a high school football team. The defensive backs are routinely god-awful. So I'm looking at, do they have the proper technique? And they trying to get we always want to make sure that we're forcing a wide receiver we can to the outside. I mean, we really don't want to give anybody an inside release. But then I'm looking at your receivers, and especially if I'm looking at film, are your defenders anywhere near the receivers they're supposed to be? I'm seeing that, 2.5, 3 seconds, and they've lost them. So if you've got defensive backs that can stick, then you've got you've got a championship team. And that's an advantage that you guys have over us. You guys throw away many more times during a game, and I think your defensive backs are way better coached, and you have more talent playing it on the defensive back side. Coaching staff. When I'm looking at video, I am looking at the coaching staff, and the question is, well, Duane, are you trying to steal signals? And the answer is, no, I'm not smart enough to do that. I mean, especially if you got a couple of guys doing it, it's like, I don't care. They're not that complicated anyway. I mean, we can see what you're doing. But what you want to watch for is your assistant coaches. So this would be something that you could have like a student manager watch your bench, if you can, from video, and see, like, you got 3rd and 1, and if it's any key juncture, are your assistant coaches moving closer to you? Are they changing position because this is a really key play, or if it's 3rd and 5 and we're going to do we've got something special coming, or 3rd and 5 we're going to run a draw, or whatever it is? Are the coaches moving around that they would give me a signal that something's up? And that's the only thing you're going to be able to see on video. We had a team a couple of years ago that every time they're going to blitz, the defensive coordinator would stand right next to the head coach. So it's like, wow, this is easy. So it's just make sure that your coaches are aware that folks are watching them too, and they might pick up on some kind of odd type behavior. All right. I want to make that short and sweet. I hope it was short enough for you.
That was pretty cool, man, especially that last stuff. Just like human behavior, right? Especially watching the coaches on the sideline, because we all do it, and we don't even know we do it.
Right. And, it's like, if I were a school player, I'd be really excited to play for all you guys. And just as a coach, I would watch to make sure that they're not making adjustments in their technique to please you because they think they can get a better result. Does that make sense? So don't let them make a shortcut to give you the result you want to see, because by them taking a shortcut, some smart aleck might pick it up and see it on video.
Any questions, guys? No? Coach, oh, I'm sorry. Give me 1 second.
Let me know when you're ready to have it.
Oh, that's why I'm wondering why I can't unmute you. Coach, Duane, go ahead and unmute Coach Doc. He's got a question for you.
Well, can I do it?
And so does Matt. You have power. Or unless you want to give it back to me, I can do it.
Yeah.
I can unmute him.
Yeah, let me give it back to you. I pulled down the participant, right? Mark, you there? Screen share. Got it back?
Excuse me.
There you go.
There we go. I think I'm back in control.
Yep. Should be.
So what you're going to do is you're going to go hover over me in the participants, click on more, and then make me host.
There you go.
Awesome. There we go. Okay, Coach Doc, go ahead. Oh, sorry, I muted you again. Go ahead, boss.
Okay, you got me?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Yeah, a good presentation, Duane. So I got a couple questions. In Indiana, I saw you guys have 15 state championships in that one team. You guys have your private schools and your public schools compete in the same championship. That's a controversy in Pennsylvania right now, where the private schools in the states and the public schools compete for the same title. You guys do that over there?
We do, but we've added, and there's the same controversy here.
Yeah.
And so what we've added is a success factor.
Uh-huh.
So that, so for instance, we've won the last two in a row. So we were automatically bumped up to the higher
Move up.
Then once we're there, if we win the sectional, which is our lowest level, if we win that, we stay for another 2 years. So yeah, we've got it. And now we still have the argument about it and the controversy. I think the bigger controversy though is really we're in the Indianapolis area, and it's the largest part of the state, and got more kids, and
So for my players, they're going. How important are camps? Because we're a decent program. I think scouts know what our program's about. But what's your philosophy on getting kids to go to camps? Are there any camps in particular? They're like, that's a good company to go to. I know I'm in Pennsylvania, but I know they're national ones too. Any suggestions?
I'll have to look into it for you from our head coaching perspective. But networking with coaches and recruiting coaches I'll talk to anybody. And the biggest influence on whether a kid gets recruited or not, it's it's not so much those camps. It's, is there a recommendation from the head coach?
Yeah.
And especially if you're putting kids, like we didn't, this year we didn't have, last year we had one D1 player. This year we had 0. So if you've got D2 level or D3, your recommendation makes or breaks. I mean,
Yeah.
the recruiting staff doesn't look at those videos. They just don't. You know, they just, oh, this is neat, and throw it in the box. But they need to hear from you. And you know, if you've got a really high D1 level player, the earlier you can get them to a program to notice them, the better. I mean, that's what I can tell you. And I'll do some research, and I'll get a hold of you and let you know what are the preferred camps.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Hey, Coach Doc.
Yeah.
And I don't know, Matt, you might know more, but we used to coach the Spark Combines, the Nike Spark Combines. I know now they call it the opening, and they were supposed to have it at Oregon. Do you guys have that? Do they come out to Pennsylvania? I know that's kind of a bigger one, but usually they have like the invite day, and then they have like the whole just kind of come and get your number day.
There's so many camps now that, you know, I couldn't. They might, like, there's so many, because the kids come in like, hey, coach, we're going to this camp. And I'm like, all right, that's great. You know, there's just so, you know, because like it's just changed so much since even high school.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we got about. Let's take. About,
I got a quick question.
Go ahead.
Hey, Duane, if it's cool, I don't know if you could put your email in the chat or not.
I will.
I got to show a couple of our games from last year on YouTube, and I would love to have you watch them and just give me some feedback.
Okay.
If you're up to that.
Sure.
I would love that.
Hey, now let me ask you, Duane, is it, because I mean, that's kind of cool that your school has somebody who just scouts the film, and just listening to what you were saying about Coach Doc's film, whenever you were like, oh, I pinpointed this, and boom, right away, obviously as coaches, we could tell you knew that you got a skill that you could see something almost instantly, or you know where to look and stuff like that. Is like, do they have a lot? I know out in Cali where we're doing it, where at least where I was doing it with you, I'm in Nevada now, Matt. But we kind of had to figure that all out for ourselves. Is that kind of a position that it's pretty normal out there where you're at?
No.
I'm
I'm the only one I know that's doing it.
Okay. Are there any other coaches? Any coaches in the chat? Like, do you guys have your own personal scout that just scouts?
Duane, do you want to move? Are you?
How well are you compensated?
I do it. I do it for nothing.
You do it for nothing?
I will move
out. Bless you, man. Bless you. They got an angel with them.
Yeah, for real.
All right. We got Coach Brower up next. He's going to talk the 3-5 defensive scheme. We're going to go and take another 5-minute break or so. He's ready to go. He said, before we ask the questions, he said he needed about 10 minutes. But we should be about there. We'll give him a few more minutes. Go ahead and get a drink or something like that, and we'll be right back.
Hey, Mark. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Do you mind if I've got another engagement I got to run to?
No, man. We appreciate you even coming, man. Appreciate you being part of it. Thank you.
Hey, let me know what I can do to help the guys.
Yeah, we'll be in touch. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people asking and stuff like that. Yeah, so we'll be in touch. Thanks, Duane.
Okay. Thank you.
Hey, Mark.
Yo.
Hang on for a second, dude.
I almost want to. I want to unmute everybody to see if everybody wants to.
Yo, Mark.
I just saw that. What's up?
What is up, man?
Wow, it's been what? God, like
Years.
5, 6
Years.
years, right?
Yeah,
How you
how are
doing? How you doing, Margie?
I'm very well, thank you, sir.
Good.
So,
You still coaching with this guy?
I retired for a couple of years, and now he's got me back.
Okay, I figured.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
for you. That's awesome. I haven't seen you in forever.
It's good to see you, man.
Yeah, you too. What were you doing in retirement?
Working. I was traveling a lot. Honestly, I had a job where I've been traveling. Now, of course, I'm not doing that right now, so that helps a lot.
You know the crazy thing about just saying traveling? Most people are like, oh, all the exotic places, but were you like going to like Boise?
No, Madeira. Yeah.
Oh,
Madeira,
okay, even better. Central Valley,
Yeah.
California, that's even better.
Calusa. Yeah, fun places. I did get to go to Napa, though, so I shouldn't complain too much.
No, that's beautiful. Guys, coaches, I am trying to figure out, I'm trying to unmute everybody without having to do it one by one to see if anybody wants to have conversations.
You should be able to do it.
I think I just asked everybody to unmute if they wanted to.
Yeah.
So if you guys want to pop on and have a couple of conversations or ask any questions or something like that.
I'll probably stay muted for a while. I've still got these kids hanging out with me. So
Yeah, no worries. Do what you guys got to do. I just wanted to let there be some free conversation as we wait for Coach
this
Brower.
is a lot of good stuff, though, for sure.
Yeah, I'm happy. This has been pretty cool so far. I'm really happy. I think a lot of the people that we have a lot of people from the UK that weren't able to show up, and like I'm talking like probably 30 people or so that weren't able to show up, but they're going to get the recording. So I think they're going to be pretty stoked about it.
Yeah, I've had a couple people text me that they were having issues with their Zoom, but they're glad it's getting recorded.
Oh, that's unfortunate. That's too bad. But yeah, we got it recorded. Yeah, and unfortunately, Coach Wagner couldn't be here. It was a touch and go kind of thing with him. He's I don't even know him, so I shouldn't say he's a really good dude. I've seen and heard and read a couple things about him. Matt knows him personally. He could touch on him. I'm sure he'll probably end up being on one of these at some.
Oh, Wags, Coach Wags.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
When I posted the link for that, one of the other guys that I coach with, he's like, "Oh, that's my guy." I guess they coach together or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, mate.
Yeah, I was, just trying to touch base with him this last. Yeah, I was just trying to touch base with him this week to kind of hook up, and we never really were able to hook up. And he's got a bunch of stuff going on too, so no biggie, dude. I mean, I was actually talking to him this morning. Love that man. That is one of the salt of the earth best human beings I know, hands down. Love that guy.
All right. Let's see.
Yeah, if you guys ever do, like, I'm hoping to get Wags on here at some point the next time. But, I mean, that guy does a great talk about linebacker play that is just incredible.
Hey, Mark. Hey, I'm here in my classroom. I just need the code to get on. It won't let me use the link on my school computer. Do you have, like, the meeting ID?
Yeah, give me a second. Yeah, the meeting ID is 681-504-7171.
504-7171?
Yeah.
Come on.
Come on, dude. You want up here, so just come here. Pull. Are you happy now?
Come on. It's just how you have to let me in now, looks like.
Boom, boom, boom. Oh, there you are. Here we go. Boom. Awesome.
Okay.
Come on, fool. What are you doing? Get off the.
I need to be able to share my screen.
Right. I think I just asked to unmute you. There you go.
I can't toggle mute and unmute. That's why
There you go. Okay. So, all right, here we go. Coach, I'm going to go ahead and hand you the screen. Make you the host. Oh, wait, I just gave it to Coach Darty. Sorry, Coach Doc, you got to give that back to me. All right. Hey, Coach. Taylor, Coach Broward.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I just
He's not replying.
No, it's not. Well, what happened was it gave your phone the hosting.
Oh, so do I need to disconnect from my phone?
Or send me back the hosting from your phone?
How do I do that?
Yeah, that's... Hey, welcome to the very first one, guys.
See if I can figure it out. I can just get off. Do you want me to just get off?
Yeah, disconnect, Coach.
Is that going to disconnect everybody, though?
All right, folks, you're going to have to bear with me. I'm going to have to troubleshoot this real quick. Oh, I know. Hold on, Coach. I got it. I'm just going to reclaim host. Boom. All right, here we go.
Yeah, I'm just going to get off of my phone.
Yeah, so I just made you the host on Coach Brower.
Sweet.
There you go, Coach. It's all you.
Okay. Can everybody hear me now?
Yes, sir. Gotcha. And you are on. Your screen is being shared.
Yes?
Yes, sir. Yeah, you're good, Coach.
You good? Okay. Okay, so today we're going to talk about
my 3-5 defense. It's kind of a hybrid. I've designated it as a hybrid because I can switch depending on what formations I have, depending on what I can switch to within it. Oh, come on, smartboard. Hang on. There we go. Okay, there's my family. I've got 4 kids. I wouldn't be able to do this unless my lovely wife there. My 2 sons right there come with me to practice a lot. So I started at Skyview High School back in 2011. I was a sophomore defensive coordinator and worked with the defensive backs and wide receivers coach. We reached the semis that year. One thing about me is I never played football in high school. I watched a lot of football, went to every football game. Watched a lot of college football when I was in college as well. So most of my expertise just comes from reading and watching videos and talking to coaches and networking. I went to South Sevier and was the defensive backs there and the QB coach as well. I was made defensive coordinator in 2014. We made it to the playoffs every year while we were there. I've had 3 players signed to D1 programs while I was there. And then here at Carbon, I was made defensive coordinator in 2017. I lowered the points by half and the yards, and I'll show you the numbers there in a minute. And then I was defensive backs coach in 2019. I took 2018 off because of some family problems and family issues. And then I was remade with the new head coach defensive coordinator this last year. So understanding the why, how we coach, why I did this. So at South Sevier, we originally started with a 4-4. We played a lot of teams. Back then it was smash mouth football, so we wanted to stack the box. The calls were complex. Kids were confused. They didn't really have a whole lot of football IQ. So that off season, we sat down as a coaching staff and tried to figure out a way to make it easier on the kids. I worked closely with the defensive coordinator that was there. There was always the question of how can we make this simpler? How can we simplify this so the kids don't get confused on where to go and who should go and what they should do? Over the 4 years, I was made, like I said, co-defensive coordinator, and we worked with the play calling. At the end of games, we would talk to the kids and ask if any calls that we made were confusing, and then they would give us feedback. We changed some of the names of the players to help with the way we called, and I'll show those here in a second. It did work it out, and it was less confusing. At Carbon, I came here. I came into a program where 4 years before they'd given up 47 points a game and a total of 440 yards a game. Since then, we've only given up 33 points per game and only 341. It's not great, but it is an improvement since I've gotten here. My first year, the kids were confused. They didn't really understand. I came in guns blazing. It was the first time I was actually fully in charge of the defense. And kids were confused, but they weren't voicing their confusion. And so I was learning and trying to understand what I could do better as a defensive coordinator. I decided I had to simplify it even more regarding what they needed to understand and to make sure that all the gaps were covered, everything was covered in pass. And now I got the pressure that I needed to when I needed it. As I learned, I was able to ask the right questions. We changed regions. So in my first region that we were here, there was a lot of small ball that was being played, but now in the region that we're in, it's gone to more of a spread RPO type of an offense. And so I've had to adjust my defense to that. And then I've spent the last 2 years asking questions and networking. So the playbook, the coaches. So this past summer when I was made the defensive coordinator, I came up with a position manual for each coach. So I came up with position manuals for each position on the team. And then I tweaked those for the kids, and then I tweaked them to give them to the coaches. And then I sat down with all my defensive coaches and I taught them the language, the jargon, the way that I wanted them to be called. And then I had drills that related to the game experiences that we would have so that those drills would coordinate to the game. During our summer camp is when I handed out our position coaches, our position manuals to the players. Each position has a manual, describes the responsibilities. And so I made them for the defensive line, the linebackers, and the secondary. Within my linebackers and my secondary, I have some subcategories. So laser and dyno, they're my hybrids. One of them is usually a defensive lineman linebacker hybrid, and then the other one's usually a linebacker secondary hybrid. And then I have a nickel that's kind of the same thing as a dyno as a laser, but I specifically call them the nickel because I only use them when I'm using like RPO, when we're playing RPO or spread teams. During the summer camp, each position coach would teach their position based off of how I taught them. Each player would have their handbook and they'd go over it, and questions were encouraged. That way there was no confusion on the calls. Fundamentals were introduced at each position. One thing our kids aren't very good at were fundamentals at that point. And so I had broken down what fundamentals need to be learned, and then so we were able to teach them. In the season, some things were taught. They stayed the same. We didn't try to get overcomplicated in regards to the drills. I had a really young coach that I was coaching, and he tried to complex things and try to make it more difficult than what it needed to be. And so I had to pull him aside and say, listen, we got to stick with the fundamentals, because unless the kids have the fundamentals and the foundation, they're not going to be able to play the defense we want them to play. So the defensive line, position designation. So always on the field, there's a nose guard and a defensive tackle. So that's a three front. There's two defensive tackles and a nose guard. Game plan specific. So sometimes if we're playing like a run heavy team, or if I don't feel like I'm going to get enough pressure with 3 down linemen with a linebacker being sent, sometimes I'll have a specific defensive end I'll stick in there. It just kind of depends on what the game plan calls for that week. Stunts and alignments. Alignments, the purpose is to make my alignments are very simple. The purpose is to allow the players to not think. And so when I make a call, I want them to go the direction I want them to without having to think, well, if I'm in this gap and I have to go to the outside, that means I have to climb over the top of the tackle. My alignments are pretty basic. The stunts are very basic as well. And I'll show them here in a second. So here's my alignment. My alignment, we're head up on the tackle. This is just a twins formation, a 2x2. My nose is head up on the center. My tackles are head up on their tackles. Why? Because I can send pressure from any angle, and the offensive line has to guess. I was talking to a defensive coordinator at a local college here, and he said he likes to play in the 3 front because I can send a blitz from any direction, and the linebackers and the linemen don't know where it's coming from, especially if it's a delayed one. So my calls for my defensive line is in, and it's this. So it's in, and it's a pinch. So they would go inside the tackles. The nose is always going to the strength side of it. So I base my strength off of the running back in this formation. So they would go to the right in this formation. Out, which is this. That means the tackles go outside the tackles. The nose still goes to the strength side. Over is to the strength, so that I make this call. That's over. That's to the strength, so everyone is to the right. Under is opposite, so everyone slants to the left. Sometimes I will call Omaha, so I'll call like in Omaha, and that means the nose, instead of going to the strength, will go to the weak. To keep that center guessing on where the nose is going. My linebackers, my inside linebackers, I have a Mike, which is the middle, and then my outside linebackers, they're usually designated as Will or Sam. I designate them as a bat, and they can play. I don't like my linebackers switching sides of the field, because sometimes I feel like they get confused, and sometimes they get out of place, especially if it's in a hurry-up offense. My outside linebackers is my laser, so laser left, so that's on the left side of the field. Dinos to the right side of the field. And these are my hybrids, kind of like what I talked about before. They need to be strong enough to play the line, but also fast enough that he can cover a wide receiver or a running back if they have to. So my linebacker alignments, my mic and my bats are near between 3 to 5 yards off the line of scrimmage. They can stack it if they need to, depending on the game plan. So sometimes my defense will look like a 3-3 stack. The laser and dino are 2 yards off the line of scrimmage. If they're in a 2x2 here, they split the difference between the second receiver and the line of scrimmage. They split that gap. So the different blitzes is mic, mash. So that mash is this call. Bat, the single ones are boat. So that means boat, like bat out, B-O, bat out. Big is the call is this, bat in. And these usually come with a strength call, so strong or weak. And that way they know which bat is going. The way that they notify the lineman which way they're going is they're going to come up and they're going to tap the hip of the line of the defensive lineman on which one, but they tap it once if they're not going, twice if they are. And the linebackers do this every play. That way the offensive linemen don't pick it up. The laser calls is loop. So loop is this, laser out, and then light, laser in. Dino, dig. So dig is the call, so dino in. And then down, I just point down to the ground, dino out. My double blitzes, so I have a BAM. So BAM is this, bam, bam, kind of like the Flintstones, bam, bam. Bat and mic, and this also comes in with a strength or a weak call. My bat double blitzes, so I have ball, bat and laser, bat and dino, baby. So most of these signals I got from like ASL, so American Sign Language. Baby, so that's bat and bat. Dino and laser double blitzes are dilate. So this is dilate, that's sign language for dilate. And then the other one is doll. So this is doll, that means doll in sign language. My secondary, the position designations, I have my corners, they're one-on-one players. We rely heavily on one-on-one on the outsides. These are the ones that have my best footwork. They're my fastest. They're my quickest kids. My safeties, so I have a free safety. This guy is a coverage guy. They can cover sideline to sideline. He's fast. He's got to be fast in order to cover that. My strong safety is a linebacker I transitioned back to a safety. And the main job is just to clean up everything. If anybody gets to the secondary, his job is to clean up any of the missed tackles that we get. My coverages, so I have pink. This is a man with a zone coverage underneath. So my corners and my safeties man up, and then my linebackers are underneath in a coverage. Black is man straight across the board. And depending on who I'm blitzing, usually our base coverage is pink. And then if I send a blitz, they'll check to black. And whoever's not going will pick up the running back or anybody in the backfield. Blue is our cover 2, so that's our corners are manned up, and then our safeties are over the top in a 3-4-4. And this is usually situational. If I call this, red is our cover 3. So if I'm in like in a 3-4, well, like in a 3-5-3, then I'll cover red. This is just one safety deep. Usually this is just a free. I've usually walked up my strong safety to play in a linebacker position at that point. Purple is just our prevent defense. This is a cover 4, so this is just long distance. Anytime it's like 3rd and long, I'll go to purple, and then I'll have my linebackers play zone underneath. The coverage is usually called by the safeties. I don't call the coverage. I work with the safeties during the week to make sure they understand the formations that they'll see and the coverages that they'll need to call, and then they can check to any of these other ones depending on what they see if they need to. So how I make calls on game day is I do my scouting. I usually try to get anywhere between 3 to 4 films on the team that we're going to play. I scout down and distance. I find out what their best plays are in regards to that down and distance. And then I've also based their formations. So I try to use down and distance and their formations. And it's usually, I try to figure out if it's like 2nd and 4, what formation do they use the most? And then I make a call. So the team captain, which is usually the Mike linebacker or one of the linebackers, will look to me, and then I'll make 2 calls. I'll make the line call first. So I'll go like in, and then I'll go strong boat. And that's the linebacker blitz. In a 3 front, I'm always sending 4. If I want to be super aggressive, I'll send 5 or 6. Just depends on the situation. Anytime, like I said before, anytime I send a 5 blitz, especially when I send 5, they have to check back because then there's going to be people that are uncovered. The free safety is in charge of the coverage call because he's the one that can see as the offense leaves the formation. He's the one that's going to see it the fastest, and so he bases his call off of the formation that he sees. Okay, so I'm going to show some alignments. So alignments are based off of receiver sets. So I figure these are the only receiver sets I'm going to see no matter what formation. It's a 2x2, 2x1, 3x1, 3x2, or 4x1. Running back sets, you have a 1-back, 2-back, or a 3-back. Game planning, so I try to take away what they do well. I try to figure out what they do well and try to take that away from them. It starts with my D-line. If I feel like they are run heavy, then I'll go to a 4-4 or even a 5-3 if I feel like I need to get pressure. If they're pass heavy, I'll go to a 4-2-5 or a 3-4-4. If it's a balanced attack, I just have to decide what they do the best. Linebackers, the depth kind of changes. So if they're a run-heavy team, I'll sneak them up to 3 yards. If they're more a pass-heavy team, I'll draw them back a little bit. If they're run-heavy, I'll be super aggressive. In regards to blitz, I'll blitz to their side that I'm going to run to. If they're a pass-heavy team, sometimes I'll go to a 4-front. And other times I'll stay in a 3 and then send a 4th. So I'm going to show examples of how I make adjustments. Any questions so far?
Any questions, coaches? Nothing. Hey, Coach, can you make sure that your email's available after this and your PowerPoint?
Everybody. Who goes left or right if in the middle of the field? What do you mean, Coach Doherty? Like, who goes left or right? Who goes left or right in the middle of the field? Yeah. Yeah, so if we're in the middle of the field, I usually try to designate like field or boundary. And usually if my dyno's on, so my dyno's going to go left. I think. I'm thinking. Hang on. Yeah. Okay.
Hey, is it flashing for everybody else?
Yeah. Hey, Coach, your screen's flashing.
There we go. Now I can hear you. My headphones are plugged in from earlier.
You're sharing your screen, Coach, but it's flashing on us.
Yeah, I see that. Hang on. There, is that better?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so in a 2x2, hopefully that didn't make you sick. So I try to, so if we're playing this, I will usually go to a 3-4. So I'll go nose. Oh, come on. Of course my board's not working. Okay, so in this, I'll put my nose over the top of the center. I'll stick my tackle over the top of the tackle. And then I'll stick my laser here, my bat here, my other bat here, and my dyno over here. I'll have my corner. Strong safety always goes to the strength. Free goes to the other side. Depending on, I call this twins, but I also call this quads, because if this is a RPO, the quarterback's going to read this direction and still be able to make a play. If that's the case, the one that's in conflict is going to be this guy here. If that is the case, then I will usually send him on a blitz here, and then this guy will fill up into that zone with pass coverage on this guy. These guys are manned up. These guys are manned up. And he's manned up with this guy. If I send another, if I'm going to change it, oh, not that big. So if I'm going to go to a forefront, what I'll do is I'll usually just hold up my hand, number 4, and then these guys will just shift. So he'll shift over into this gap. Dyno will walk down. This guy will shift to the outside. This guy will shift into that gap. And then these guys will just balance up. Calls don't change. They stay the same. So now we're in a 4-3-4. Other formations that I've seen in the past, so this is trips. This is a little different. I treat trips a little differently than most. So nose, tackle, corner. If I'm in a 3-5 in this formation, I'll bring my laser out to here. My free will sit over the top. The corner over here is going to be manned up by himself on an island with no help over the top. Usually, depending on who that corner is probably going to be my best corner. And then I'll stick my bat here, Mike, bat, dyno, and I'll just balance them up. And I can send blitzes from any direction in this formation if I want to. If I send like a bam, a weak bam, then that means this guy goes this way, he goes this way, this guy goes this way, and this guy goes that way, getting pressure that way, which means that guy's got to go that way. That's a little different than most when I come to trips. If I'm in a 3-4-4, so if I'm in a 3-4-4, so corner, I'll bring my free over here. my laser will stay on the inside. My strong will come over here. And then I'll have bat, dino that way. So he's got flats. He'll have deep this way. And then this guy will just be free to roam if he wants. He's going to read the quarterback and help. If this guy needs help, then he'll help over the top this way if he needs the help.
So, hey, Coach, on your 2x2 set, and I know you said, like, here on 3x1, the corner over here is probably your best corner on one-on-one. So in the 2x2, if they send a guy across the formation in motion and now set you 3x1.
What adjustments do I make to that?
Yeah, what adjustment do you make to that? Or do you just make that same out in the backside by himself?
Okay. So let me draw it real quick. So if I know that the team's going to send a motion in twins, then I'll usually be in a 3-4. So if this guy motions across like this, all that happens is the laser will, and this guy, like, let's say this guy sits out here instead, this guy will just move out, and now the free's here, the laser's in the flats, and the dyno's this way.
Okay.
And so now you still have help over the top that way. So, and then everyone shifts. So the bat will shift here, and they'll just shift and balance the field if that happens.
All right.
Does that make sense?
Yep. Thank you.
Yep. And it's key if teams, I know if teams are doing that, a lot of times, a lot of teams that we play, if I know that they're going to send this guy coming this way, it's usually going to be a jet. I've played this year, out of all the teams that we played, one team sent the receiver across the field all the way. So that was just a game plan for that week. It's not something that we teach all the time, but for that week we definitely drilled it into their heads. Because you're right, it does cause a problem because now we're, instead of balanced, now they're unbalanced.
Right.
So if we went into a veer, usually if we go into a veer this way, then we're going to go into our 3-5. It's a good question. So laser, bat, mic, bat, dino, corner, free. Okay. So basically at this point we're third here. So we're in red. So we're third deep. He's got flats. He's got flats. Hook to curl. Hook to curl. And then hook to curl here. If I were to send a blitz or something, then they would just have to adjust. So if I were to send like a, if I were to send a like a loop, so he would go this way, the bat's going to have to start sneaking out here so that he can get to the flats quick enough. And then contain-wise, I'll usually have, depending on who their best running back is, which side of the ball he's on, my tackle or my laser and dyno will have contain to force it back inside. We played one team this year that ran a double wing. I hate playing against the double wing. I put 6 guys down. So I put here, 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 and then usually I stick a bat out here. I kept my other mic and my bat here, corner here, free here, and corner up here. It was just a scrum is all it was. They're really good at it. They pulled a lot of people. They're very efficient at it. My goal is just to make a pile. If I can make a pile and slow them down, then I'll do that. But it doesn't matter, even if they come out into a different formation, I can adjust to their formation. If they came out in this most of the game, but then they came out in twins or trips, and it was just an easy adjustment. We just went back to what we normally did. But the calls don't change. That's one of the things I really tried not to do, is change the calls. The calls always stay the same, and it's all about game plan for that week as well. We play a lot of wing T teams as well. If they come out in this, I'll stay in my 3-5 as well. So we'll have over the top. We'll be in red, and then just blitz where I can. Any other questions?
Any questions, coaches?
I've got the position manuals. If you want it, I'll send them to anybody that want them. I sent out about 100 of them last week to various coaches. If you want those, I'm more than happy to send them to them. I'm more than happy to send my playbook too. I'm always learning. I try to break it down. Like, we had a meeting with coaches last week, and we talked about how we make it simpler. What can we do to not confuse the kids? Those kinds of things. So
cool. Well, what I want to do is make sure that up on the Facebook page too, any of the coaches that were presenters tonight, if you guys got any material, any stuff, I have units up there that we can post all this stuff in and make it available to everyone who's in the group. So that'll be cool too.
I can upload that too.
Cool. That was awesome.
And feel free to email me or anything like that.
Make sure get your email in the if you haven't already, Coach, get your email in the chat.
Okay, I can do that.
And then
okay,
go ahead and make me the host again, Coach. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.
Cool.
How do I make you the host?
You're gonna go over to the participants bar.
Okay.
And then you're gonna click on more. You're gonna hover over my name, click on more, and then it should say make me host.
Make host. Gotcha.
Or actually, if you can't, I was gonna say if you can't do that, I'll just take over. Cool. All right, we got another couple people joining us a little bit late. Cool. All right, AJ. What's up, AJ? We talked a little bit yesterday. That was cool, actually.
Not much.
And I watched one of your Zoom meetings on your triple gun. So this is going to be interesting. Okay. You know, I don't want to keep everybody too late, but if you guys want to go run real quick, take a couple minutes and go do whatever you got to do. AJ, if you want to make a couple take a minute or two to introduce yourself and then dive in, and that'll give some guys a chance to get in and out and not miss too much.
Gotcha.
So I'm going to go ahead and make you the host, sir. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
There you go, boss. It's all you.
Carlson, 7th in school history in points scored.
Yeah, going on here.
PATs, 4th with 48 field goals in his career. He's already made one from 7 tonight.
Let me go down here. There we go.
Yeah, you're in control, Coach.
All right. Yep. Let me just make sure I got my stuff here.
And leak right. It is good.
Who's listening to the highlights? That's funny.
I muted him. He didn't realize. I don't think he realized what was going
that's
on.
Cool.
So.
I know. That's what I love about this. It's all just it's fluid and organic, man. That's the whole point. We're all doing some stuff and listening to football. I mean, can't complain.
So yeah, like you said, I'm Coach AJ Knutson, and I grew up in a split bag veer offense. So when I talk about inside and outside veer, that's where my basis comes from. And then when I talk about midline, when I started coaching, we were flexible and under center. So that's how I learned midline. So, and then we eventually switched to gun after a few years of flex bone. And then I kind of just going coaching clinics and stuff and putting that together. I put it all together in a gun for my offensive line and for the offense. And just, we've had a lot of success with it, way more than I thought that we would, honestly. So the worst year we've averaged 7.1 yards a carry. And the best year, the first year we installed it, was 10.4 yards a carry. So we run the football. We'll run like 40, 50 times a game and maybe throw 8 passes a game. Basically, play actions off of that. A little short, quick game. If you need some short, quick yards and a few screens here and there, depending on what we see. But we see a lot of cover zero, so screens aren't our friend. So you're not going to get a lot of screens against cover zero. So teams tend to load the box and want to shut down the run. So they just put their guys on islands. So I think we're good.
Yep.
Dive into it.
Dive into it, boss. Go right ahead.
Here we go. So midline on here for you guys to start with. So the first thing I'll tell you on midline for us is that it is it's a blocking scheme. So we're reading the first defender on or outside the guard is where the count starts. And then we are kicking number 2 out with our tackle. So that is very important. So anytime we call midline, our tackle is finding that number 2 defender and kicking him out. And then the very first one up here now is, this is where Tony DeMeo here is. First, let's talk quarterback depth. Our quarterback depth is anywhere between 4 and 5 yards, depending on how fast our dive back is. The faster the dive back is, you can be further back away from the line of scrimmage. So that's the first thing I'll say. His footwork on actually all three of these plays, the first 3 are all the same. All he does is say set, hut, step forward, and hinge to the play side. The S, whatever he's comfortable with, he's usually about 1 foot by 1 foot away from the quarterback. And his aiming point for all of this, again, too, for midline, inside veer, are going to be exactly the same no matter what defense we see. He's going to aim right at that center's, and he's going to read that center's block and make his cut. So that's where we picked up from Tony DeMeo's offense, is the cutback. So that makes those backside defenders respect the backside of the play. And then the quarterback's going to read that D tackle and, whatever. So for now, if you want to understand if it's a give or not, if he comes upfield, it's a give. If he stays there, it's a give. He's got to come down flat like this in the dive lane, flat like that. He's got to be trying to do that. That's the time when we pull it and we're replacing. And then we got here too, the tackle always goes first to make the kick out block. The Y here, if he's off the line, he would be in 1-by-1 off the line in his regular wide receiver stance. If he's here, he's in a 3-point. He is just going to open, shuffle, and then go right up to that safety. So the beauty part, that what we love about midline, is how fast it hits. And you're making your block, you're reading first level defenders, blocking second level, and making cover guys tackle. That's the whole philosophy with this whole entire offense that we do. When we see a lot of film, we love it against a 4-2 down here. Again, that's going to be the exact same path for him. That does not change. It's up to that guard to make that call backside, but he can't be wrong. He's got to, if he needs help, he calls for help, and then they work that double team to that backer. You'll see but I do have some clips for this. We kind of played around with it because we heard about easiest path, but we actually changed it so it stays consistent that we want him to release inside. In case there's a bad snap or anything like that, it just slows that read up a little bit so you can't just run in there. So we always release inside. And then again, out here, same thing. We're going to kick 2, and then he's coming up around like that. Now, formation-wise, if we want to bump out the flex like that, and that backer's going to walk out with him, then that's what we're going to do. And then he's just going to, again, it's still his guy. So just depending on where that guy is, that's his guy. So if there's any chance of him blitzing inside, we want him to release inside to go get him. And then here, if you need help on the play side, you can bring the W around for extra help. And then we'll go up here. Splits, I have a couple clips. I'll get the splits for you guys. Here, you're just going to be kind of normal up on top on one up there. And then down here, these guys here, I'll draw it up over here. This guy is
Coach.
Yep.
Coach Doc. He's muted again, but he was asked if you want to unmute him.
Okay.
But he was asking who goes left or right if you're in the middle of the field.
What was that?
Oh, was that maybe I missed this. Maybe this was way earlier.
Yeah, that was. Yep, I saw that. That was earlier.
Oh, okay.
But I just got to ask about
Coach.
splits here.
Yeah, go ahead.
So your splits here now on this one right here. I'll talk about. You want this guard split is going to stop when that D tackle stops. So when this D tackle stops, when he's just going to walk from the center, make that D tackle, and then when he stops, he stops. It's that simple. Backside again too, or this would actually be play side over here. He's just going to keep walking until that tackle stops. And so you'll see, I'll show you, we'll have 3-yard splits. We'll have 2-foot splits. It all depends on, this is high school football. So we use those, if they're told to line up in a 2 technique, then wherever that our guard stops, that D tackle stops. So we'll have some massive splits. Bigger the splits, the better. Especially against an even front, you can get away with pretty big splits. So again, down here on the bottom, we're running it to a 3 technique, so it makes it even better. I will say, after studying this offense and after reading some of the stuff in the group, I talked about if and thens. So, for instance, if we were down here on this one right here, and we had it called this direction where he's in a 2I or he's in a 1 technique, then we audible the outside veer. So we don't mess around with a 2I or a 1 and still try to run it in there. We just take what the defense gives us, and we have our quarterback audible. Again, too, it's hard. Another problem that you'll have is these ends. If you cannot get these ends, if they want to keep firing inside and messing up where the tackle can't get them kicked out, then we're just going to call a speed option. So that's how the whole thing works together, and why I'm covering these 4 plays with you guys is and that we're also, if he just lines up in a 4I, then we're just going to wash him down, take what the defense gives us, and we're going to pitch off the next guy outside of him. So that's how it all works together. If there's any questions on midline, go ahead and ask them now, and then, or else we can move on to inside veer. How would I do that so the guys can just unmute themselves if they want to ask a question?
If you
should I just ask all to unmute and then they can unmute if they want to ask?
Yeah. That's what I was going to
okay.
look for, but I can't. It's not on my thing anymore because you're the host.
Yeah, it's not on yours.
Yep.
I hit it. So if guys, I don't know.
If anybody wants to ask, go ahead, fire away.
Yeah, go ahead and fire away, or else I'm going to go on to.
I got a question.
Yep.
Yeah. So on the last 11 midline down there.
Yep.
is that ran as a triple option?
No, you can. You can certainly run it. Thanks for bringing that up. You can run that as a mid triple or a midline pitch, we call it, and that's just going to hold a flat player. But there's no flat player out there to hold. I mean, if you wanted to try to bring that backer out there to respect that, but no, that W, she's leading around and up inside, or loaded in that backer, and getting up to the third level to the safety up there. So, but you can, like, if you wanted to hold like down here, if you wanted to do some kind of motion and then just go out like that instead of having him go inside to load that guy, and then just have your Y go up there, that backer should, this outside linebacker should have to respond to that motion and to that guy out in the flat. Somebody's got to account for him. So yeah, you can run midline pitch. We only called it really was just to in case we couldn't get that DN kicked out. Then if it just ended up being a mess and we pulled and ended up being a mess in there, then we could get out to the flat easier.
Coach, one last question real quick is splits. So you're saying that splits are fluid where the guard just kind of moves out to where the D tackle is,
Yes.
And then there. So have you run into situations where, the D tackle lines up wide 2-3 yards, and then your guy goes over there, and then by the time you get ready to run the play, this guy shifts into that huge gap? The D tackle shifts into that gap.
Oh, I've never. If we saw a defense line, which I haven't in 7 years, we haven't had a defense line switch on us. Which I don't know why. I think it'd be really smart, but we've never had any linemen switch positions. If we saw that in film, yeah, then you scratch that. You just go back to your normal. Our normal for us is 3-foot splits. That's normal.
Okay.
So, but yeah, if we saw that, yeah, then you scratch that right away. We have never seen it. So, in the 2 places that we coached at. So,
thank you.
Yep. Anybody else before we go on to inside beer? All right. Now, inside beer here for us, we are going to leave the front side. Now, the count starts outside the center, and we're going to read the first and second defender. So you're reading first defender, and you're pitching off the second defender. We always motion with this. We always have a pitch man on this because it could be if he's up on the line, it's going to be a sit and pitch pretty fast, and you'll see that. And but if not, a lot of them, he's going to be right there. So you got to have a pitch guy for this. It's tough to like RPO inside beer. So we're always looking to pitch. Again, the great thing about this too, same depth now, same aiming point. Quarterback's going to step forward and hinge. He's going to aim right up here. So now we're going to double team this to that backside backer. These guys are fanning, we call it, backsides that are blocking a full man back. So you got great blocking angles. This is now we can smart split this. We want this guard to be at about a 1-foot split, and we want this tackle can get as big as the split as he can, as long as he can do his job and get that backer. That's going to be his split. Again, that Y can split out as far as he can to take that outside linebacker out with him, as long as he'll keep widening. Sometimes we'll just line him up. Like I said, we'll just line up and shoot, go 2x2, and if he wants to walk out there apex, it's going to bring that read further away. Give the quarterback more time if he pulls it. And so yeah, so again, Tony DeMayo, you got Tony DeMayo with that cutback. You can cut it back here, and you can cut it back here. We had one running back the first year. He had great vision. We probably hit cutback 80% of the time on this play. And then at our other school, he was kind of more of a downhill runner. He always would run probably 80% to the play side, and we have to tell him to cut it back every once in a while. Because you'll when you see it on film a lot, actually both lanes end up being open for the most part. So It's not as good against an even front, but you still got it down here again. But again, it's just going to be right at that center spot. Same thing. Going to read that first defender, and then pitching off the second one who's sitting right there. And that's why we always want to release inside, just to buy a little extra time there, so they both can't come screaming in there. Again, too, now with this, now if they're lined up in the A gap, like down here, if we're running it down here this way, again, we'd audible outside veer. We wouldn't run it if there's a defender in the A gap, or if there's a defender in the B gap, we would audible. So that's if and then with inside veer again, if they're in those gaps, we're just going to take what the defense gives us and get into a better play. We don't auto pull and pitch. We're not about that. We want to make reads on everything that we do. Anybody got any questions on inside veer? I absolutely love this play. When we do get to, I do have some film for this. You're going to see it against a 6-2. I don't know if I can probably just draw it up on here. I can show it to you guys. Go to right here. I'll just draw it up real quick against a 6-2 because you'll see it. Here's how it changes. I'll just draw the play side. So now we have different rules for that. So here's what it's going to be against a 6-2. So we're releasing inside like that. So now here's your 1, here's your 2. 4 on 3, we still have the numbers. The center's just going to look back for that backside backer, and the guard's just going to cut off that guy just like that. So you still have the numbers, even if there's 4 guys on that side like that against a 6-2. Bring that back up here. So if everybody's good with that, what outside veer? This I have to adjust when we talk about this a little bit because the lines are drawn up wrong here. So we're going to cut the splits now on this. He's going to actually run this path just like that. So we're going to run outside the double teams on this. And we're not going to run it up inside. It's harder against a 4 technique, but you can do it if you do cut those splits down to a foot, which is also our passing one. So they don't necessarily automatically think that we're running outside veer just because we cut the splits, because those are our normal passing splits. And this is one where I'll be doing a zoom on this, but maybe one other time. But this would be one where we run our RPOs on this, because you're not having to get so far downfield with your lineman. So we won't motion the guy, and we'll just RPO that number 2 if the quarterback pulls it. So that's something that we're working on. We haven't actually ran that yet, but that's something we're looking at installing in the playbook this season. So with my teams being all in California on the West Coast, we haven't played yet. So I don't have any current film on it. But the nice thing is about this, what makes it easier is that after you've been running midline and inside veer, is these D tackles start coming down hard. And so it makes these blocks a lot easier. And that's what makes it such a great play after you've been pounding it inside. And sometimes they're going to line up right inside, and you're going to have to work outside in. So this would be one of your plays to start with in the game too. It also will run outside veer under center out of regular old school split back veer. That's one thing that we do too, because it's that same blocking, and the kids know the blocking for it. So, but if you're taking notes on this with the count starts outside the center again, and so you're going to block 1. Sorry, I'll start it up here. You're going to block 1. You're going to read 2 and pitch off whatever you tag 3. Here we call a cornbread call. So that's going to tell our quarterback and our and our pitch guy that we're going to leave this corner alone and we're going to block the safety. Those are different tags you can tag in on there. I don't actually have speed option drawn up on here, but all speed option is going to do is the exact same blocking, except for now your S is just going to run the pitch route, and your quarterback's just going to step forward and work down the line of scrimmage, and it's the exact same play, exact same blocking for the lineman, which is a really nice wrinkle on it. And a simple just saying lead, it's just going to put him lead blocking around, and it's just going to leave that W in motion, and now we got lead option. So with blocking it that way, you have lead option and speed option and it's the exact same blocking as outside here, which works out so great for my lineman. I spent 4 years coaching the O-line and DL, and then out in California spent a year, and then that's basically what I helped my friend do, is watch the O-line and break down their footwork. And I can tell you another thing too, before we get to some a little bit of film I got for you guys, is I teach hat in the hole and head in the armpit. So if he's blocking this guy, he's got to get his head on the outside of that guy. And I always say head in the armpit because that way we're always lower than that defender, and we have control of him. He's got to literally spin off to get to the ball or get even close, and by that time we're by. So that's what I teach my linemen. So anybody got any questions on any of this stuff? I will show you when I talk about splits. There's a good view of splits for you. And when I tell those guys to widen, and this works great. Again, we end up losing against this team. We've never actually beaten this team. They run split back veer also, but they are very good at what they do. And so what splits allows us right away is to give us run lanes. And with our blocking, he's going here. He's going here. He's blocking back that guy. The guard.
AJ.
Yep.
AJ. Hey, I don't want to interrupt. How wide are those splits you guys got them widened out to? I mean, those things.
Those are as far as. So that's what I was saying. When we tell our guards to widen and tell that defender stops walking with you. So it works great against even fronts.
Okay.
So as long as they widen, and as long as this guy can get here, that's his goal. So he's got to beat that middle linebacker for that little cut back there. So for midline, then we're just kicking here. He's coming up there like that. And then if we're doing inside veer, then we're leaving this guy alone here too. So then he just comes up here and he's right there. So it gives you great run lanes, and then this guy's just going to motion back and be your pitch back. We've used this twice against great teams. We'll sprinkle it in against if we know we're going to get an even front. It does not work great against odd fronts. But you can see if defenders, when kids are told in high school to, coach told me to line up in a 3 technique, and this is what we like to do. It's taking teams to usually a full half before they make halftime adjustments to know how to line up on it. What they'll do is they'll start playing in their normal spots in the gaps, and then we'll just go back to normal stuff. But if you can get your kids to really buy in and learn this stuff, it's a lot of fun. And we end up running for 400 yards in both games. So, but yeah, that's what wide splits can do for you. I mean, even if you just wanted to call straight dive, which we don't, you got a pretty decent run lane.
AJ, have you ever run into a team that never adjusted in the second half and just kind of stayed tight defensive line wise, where it made you stay tight, where you ran splits like this the whole game?
Correct. No. We adjust down as soon as we come off the field and see, because what's going to happen is that when they don't adjust down, is they're just going to have a free run at that running back and quarterback because our guard's way outside. So that's if you guys do see this, That's the best thing to do. Put your guys in their normal spots, and don't widen with those guys, and then you'll be okay. So for you defensive guys, if you guys come across this. So what we did then at halftime, and we came out the next series, saw that they weren't widening, we went right back to our normal splits. And then what we did then is we went to more of our sweep, our speed option, and got outside those guys because we knew we couldn't block them on the inside. They were way better, way bigger than we were. But a lot of guys say, like, you can't use this against better defenders. I'm like, yes, it does. And that makes more sense because if you got a D tackle that's here and you got a D tackle that's here, you know, he's 2 yards further away from where he should be. You know, he's got to go 3 times the distance to make that play. So it actually works out against, like, we use it against teams that are actually better than us. That we know that, hey, we're going to struggle against these guys if we want to run the ball inside and pound it up in there. We need to get decent splits. So anybody else got anything on this? I will show you one other one where it's just normal, but it's against a bear front. Coaches think that they can load the box and not get run lanes. We'll still get run lanes. This would be a great example for outside veer here. When we got the splits cut to normal splits or for passing. The beauty part is for outside veer now, here's 2, here's 1, here's 2. With a tight end in the game, you block it like this. So these 2 guys are double into this backside backer because all this guy's got to do, since he's already that far away, if he can't get inside, you will let him run outside as long as we can get to 25, but we prefer that tight end to go inside. But it gives you great angles, and then these guys they're right here and they're right here, and he can scoop it backside, or he can just post backside like that. So this would be a great example for outside veer on double and a 3 to a backside backer if you bring a tight end in the game. If there wasn't a tight end in the game, then the only thing that changes, and we practice this in practice too. I'll do a week where I bring the tight end over, and I'll do a week where I don't have the tight end. If there was no tight end in the game, it's these guys driving him to there. He's got to get here. He's going to go get him, and he's got to scoop that 3 technique. But we try not to ever make our guys scoop backside. Very rare that we do, but this would be an occasion that you'd have to scoop it. So,
did you see that from Coach Doc talking about?
No, I didn't actually.
It says he was saying maybe fold the tight end.
Yeah, that would be. Yes, I like that. That would be what we do on. That would be our midline if we did it that way. We would just call midline. Just going to put him like that, exactly. And then these guys would have to get bigger splits on the backside for that. But then this guy, because since you're getting there and you're reading this guy, then he can actually double to right there and go get him. And then we have to just fan the backside again. So it still works out to run midline there too and read this guy right there. And you still got pretty decent angles, even if you for running that too. So yeah, that would be midline right there if you wanted to fold it. So we don't teach full blocking. We just something we don't practice enough. When you run as much stuff here is the count and all that stuff works. I'll put it up so you guys can look at it too, or take a screenshot of it, whatever you guys want to do with it. You guys can also jot this down here too. That'll give you your rules. We try to make it so the linemen, if they can count to 2, they can block this, and then we don't ask them to full block because I don't want to have to teach them when and how and all that stuff. I'm showing you 4 plays. We have 14 run plays, so it just with these plays alone, it's pretty expensive, and you're spending a lot of time on this stuff. So we try to keep it as simple as possible and try to use angles and double teams at the point of attack as much as possible. And so that's worked for us pretty good. So, but yeah, that's the rules, and that's what the if and thens for the quarterbacks to know when they need audible and what the better play is. So you guys can jot that down, take a screenshot, whatever you guys want. And I also can send all this stuff to you too.